I'm actually from South Carolina, and I was lucky enough to get affiliated with the UVA band through Mr. Cook, who I've known for quite some time, from South Carolina. Actually, been in music. I can't remember when I wasn't in music, but I've come up through the education ladder a little differently, actually through medicine and nursing. I finished with a biology degree from a little school called Presbyterian College in South Carolina, and then I got another bachelor's degree in nursing from Landry University, another very small school down there, and then made my way south to the University of South Carolina, got a master's degree in nursing, and then through some crazy freak of nature, ended up in medical school somehow down in Charleston. Now I'm here. I actually met Mr. Kirk when I was in Columbia in graduate school at University of South Carolina. He actually was in school there as well, and then we both stayed in town to teach band. So when I knew I was coming to University of Virginia for my internal medicine residency, coming out of medical school, I was looking around, was doing some homework, trying to hook up with a high school band, because that's what I've always done, and then just looking on websites and things, and somehow stumbled upon that Mr. Cook was the associate band director here at University of Virginia. So I emailed him and said, hi, I'm coming to town, do you need any help? And I think he emailed back and said, practice is on Tuesday. So here I am. I was fortunate enough in South Carolina to be able to work with with the top programs in our state, and I was very fortunate with that. And high school band is completely different than what we do here. You do one show forever and ever, and you just beat it to death until it's perfect, and you expect it to be perfect. It's perfect intervals, perfect foot technique, perfect everything. And so when we started out here, and I think part of it is just you have so many people coming from so many different backgrounds, from so many different schools. You show up at band camp, and this school did this, marched this technique, this school did this person didn't even march because their school was so small because they didn't have one. And so you're kind of melding all of these different techniques that people have learned over the last 4 years into kind of starting over with our technique, versus you're teaching every year at the same school, the same high school. You've got three years of people who already know the drill. You know their technique, and things progress quite quickly. So it was just very interesting melding all these different techniques together. And it was just a different animal. Not that it was bad, it was just different. And a good learning experience for me too. You got to learn how to teach so many people very quickly, just because we don't have that much time. And so it's a learning experience for me as well. You have to be more efficient as a teacher. So a usual day for me is I get up 4:30, 4:45 sometimes, and get up. I'm usually in the hospital. I'm in the hospital by 5:30. Usually, sometime between 5 and 5:30, depending on what's going on. Kind of get my act together, do some things, start making rounds at 6:30 on a million people, get some work done, go to clinic, which is the office, basically see office patients for as much of the morning as I can get there after I finish my inpatient stuff. Go in the afternoon, and then I round on the inpatients again, rounding with the residents, and just kind of, it's crazy. And usually I'm there until about anywhere between like 7 and 9-ish at night. 7:30 is probably a pretty reasonable day that I leave. And if it's a Tuesday or Thursday or a Friday before a home game, I try to get out here for as much as I can, and then I go home, and I have to do some more work when I get there, actually. So I usually sit on the couch with my iPad and my paper, and I'm doing, getting ready for the next day, actually, so I can sleep an extra 15 minutes in the morning. So it's kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. The CMB helps me keep sane with as busy as I am at work, especially this year. Maybe not so much in residency, but this year I work a lot. And if I didn't have the CMB, I basically wouldn't do anything else. I work very late. I'm very rarely out here practice on time because I'm still rounding at the hospital. But even if I can only make it out here for the last 15 or 20 minutes of rehearsal, I make sure I come, because I have to do something that's not medicine and not. Although I love those people and I love what I do, you need a break.
Yeah.
So it really helps keep me sane. And it's if somebody asked me what my true passion was, it's music, and it's teaching, specifically teaching and working with marching ensembles and pageantry. If I could only do one thing, it would be this. So I'll always break my neck to get here. It's very important to me. a lot of times the things that stick out in your mind are the little things, not the big. It's not always the biggest performance or the most famous person that came in and performed with us, or the biggest win, but it's kind of like the little things, something that's said on the side, or some funny thing that happened on the field. There's just so many. I don't know, I can pin it down. I'm sure Matt Taskey is always involved in at least one of them for obvious reasons. Well, the first one you always remember just because I was like, wow, I mean, this, even back then when we probably had 100 people less than we are now. This was 07 was my first year. It's like, wow, all these people, and all the, we have, college musicians now, the brass are college longs that, everybody can really blow, and, there's really not much of anything you can't put in front of them that they can't do. And the thing that I was so impressed with, that we had so many people, and yet only a few music majors, people who were similar to me, who had gone through and loved music, and it was important to them, and they want to keep doing that kind of as their break. And we're so unique here in that we do a different show every week, and everything's memorized, and they just do it. And if you correct, you might do a correction, you tell them once, they say okay, and it's fixed, and that's just from day one. And it's really special because it's certainly not like that in the high school ranks, not always, because it's, it's a little different atmosphere there. So that still astounds me even to this day. Trying to think other things from band camp. I think, was it 08-ish, I think it might have been on skip night when we had the surprise performance by Beyonce and the Single Ladies. I will never forget that. For obvious reasons. That was Brian Myers, and I think it was Matt Funston who came out and introduced, and I didn't know they were coming. And actually, when Brian came out, it took me a second to realize that it was actually him. So that was a hoot. Probably one of the most special halftimes for me was actually the couple of weeks ago when we did the military tribute during the VMI game, and Lee Greenwood came, and a little different twist on the military tribute rather than doing the Coast Guard song and the Army song, but having the Herald Trumpets there and Lee Greenwood, and get to meet him, and just the energy that I felt out on that field when we all went out there we got to participate as staff members and go out and uphold the American flag that was unfurled in the middle of the United States, and you could really feel the energy from the crowd, and that was really special. Well, I always like starting out in the V and Cross Sabers, and the fact that we always do that, and now how we've kind of progressed, we've gotten so large, and we actually come out in this big force, and then we and then go out to the V and Cross Sabers, and I think that's just, it really makes a statement, and I really enjoy that. Something we weren't doing when I was here before is when we go out into the V and Cross Saber, and they throw the capes up. I think that really is kind of badass. It was either 08 or 09, I can't remember, but we played North Carolina at night. I guess it was 08 because Cedric Pierman was playing, and we went to I think it was an overtime, and Cedric ran the ball in for a touchdown on the opposite side of us to win in overtime, and the students stormed the field, and you could tell that was brewing, so because we didn't get ready to go out on the field for post-game. And just witnessing everybody rush on the field, I had never seen that before. I went to a very, very, very small school, small college, smaller than my high school. Originally, didn't have a marching band, had a pep band, that kind of stuff, sit-down pep band. So just to witness all of that was pretty awesome. I had a 3-year hiatus. I think I came to like 2 games during those 3 years that I was gone. And the thing that, obviously we were larger. My last in 09, we had 280. And then this year we're at 340, so certainly the size is different. The guard is bigger, the guard is better. They're doing more things, and they're more together, and they're having a lot of fun, you can tell, which is fantastic. But just, I guess even when I came last year when I visited for the North Carolina game, just the power and just how much across the board, there's more power and better players across the board. There's not 2 or 3 per section that are really carrying the section. And I guess each section was smaller back then as well. And now, it's filled out more, so there is just more contribution. And that really, as a whole, just makes it so much more powerful. It's actually a pretty incredible sound when you hear them. I know, and I've come before, and I'm like, they're going to hurt me. I know they're going to hurt me, but that's in a good way. Just wear your earplugs. Well, I've just met Mr. Costin, I guess this year, because he wasn't here when I was here before, and I think he's just a hoot. And he's a fun guy who's watching. He was a very talented teacher, I think he has a really good rapport with the students, and he has a lot of knowledge to pass on. Mr. Itzier, I really like that guy. What an incredible musician he is, and what a hard worker, and really he did so many things behind the scenes that I think some of you guys as members saw, but there's a lot of things that you guys did and that just made everything work. This band, I don't think this band could have run without him. He was a really hard worker, and at the beginning of of when the CMB was formed, he was here the first several years. I think he will always be a very important part of the CMB. And Mr. Peace, he's a trip. He's kind of a brother. He's a dad. He's a little bit of everything to everybody, I think. Mr. Cook, I've known him for a while. We've worked one school away from each other down the road. He actually almost came and worked at the school that I was teaching at. So I've known him for a while in different capacities, and he's just a true friend and someone that I know I could call at 2 a.m. if I really needed something. So that's really invaluable. It doesn't surprise me that he can handle so many different situations in the way that he does. He is serious and the band director and the guy in charge when he has to be. He's fun and joking with us, with the students when it's the right time. He jumps in and does anything that needs to be done. He's loading this, he's picking this up, carting this away. None of that surprises me because he's just a good guy and a good and responsible person.